The application of Mr. Thomas Berry, doing business as Blue Bellies, looking for a beach license agreement for a food truck at Nobody Beach for the summer of 2013.
I just have one question. I'm assuming that he's going to pay the $1,500.
He's very willing to pay the $1,500 fee.
Thank you.
Is it stated in here that he has to?
Yes, it is. I believe. Hold on. Number 4.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. And this is not subject to procurement because it's a license?
It's not an exclusive license. Anyone can request this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it likely that we would have other requests?
That's what I was going to ask.
I usually get a couple every year, but once they hear about the fee, they back down. But he's willing to go forward.
Do you have a question, sir?
I was just wondering if this was run by the Beach Management Committee, Access Committee?
He does mention in his cover letter that he has to obtain all his permits by March 22nd, so I don't know, but I can ask him.
Why don't you ask him? But subject to that, is there a motion to approve?
Yeah.
The license?
I move that, subject to his getting the appropriate approvals from beach management and any other commissions that he requires.
I would just say appropriate approvals, because I don't know whether technically he's required to get an approval from the beach.
I don't know either.
I don't know either.
So.
Is he? Yeah, okay. Well,
It's just, I've been involved with the Park and Rec and the leases with the beach, and other trucks have tried to go out to the different beaches. And
all right, thank you. Mm-hmm. So we approve it subject to his getting the necessary approvals.
Right. So that's the motion.
That's the motion.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Financial Subcommittee. Well, the Financial Subcommittee hasn't met. We all met with the FinCom on Monday. Monday, yes. And I think I would just speak briefly about what has happened since. I have, because of my getting my hand slapped on the open meeting law, I have not sent you an email which I got from Matt Mulcahy and responded to. But I will tell you what I said, and I will send it to you after this meeting. Basically, the response I got from him was a thank you for the participation. Some discussion about the covering of the deficit for 2012, which is, as I pointed out to him in my response, was really subject to the what the town finance department says, but I have to be somewhat optimistic given the fact that they did approve a budget with a significant deficit to be covered by certified retained earnings from 2010. And it would appear that there should be about $900,000 of certifiable retained earnings for 2011. So we should be all right, but we'll see. I mean, we don't know. And then the second question was whether or not well, basically he said that they were concerned that given the traffic studies which we showed them, was a flat budget realistic if the traffic continued to decline. I asked Mr. McGrath to look at the history for Nantucket Airlines and Island Airlines for the 4 months from October 1st through January of 2011 through January 31, 2012. And what he found out when he looked at those numbers was their traffic was flat, or in Island's case, up a little bit. So it would appear that the shuttle was, the shuttle's traffic either didn't exist or went somewhere else. Went to the boat because of their low fares. So my second response to Mr. Mulcahy was that I thought, given that, we should leave the budget where it is, and as I discussed with him and with the FinCom at the meeting on Monday, keep a close watch on things and go back right after the end of the first fiscal quarter, in other words, at the end of September in October, go back with a review of where we are. So that was my suggestion in that case. The third point in his email started out with a statement that the FinCom was thinking of not approving any capital articles for this town meeting. I don't know what else is on the table, but I assume the big one is the renovation of the old police station. Excuse me. And how would we feel about that? And I talked to Bill about it, and you know, the big one was the $1.7 million roughly for the rehab of runway 1230, the safety areas and so forth, an additional 5,000 feet of fence. I had somewhere in the back of my mind that this might have been something that the FAA had wanted us to do. My understanding is that that's not the case, but it's part of, you know, sort of an ongoing effort to keep the property up to snuff. And the second one was the $300,000 for the environmental work and permitting on the new taxiway. And the third one was an additional $500,000 for finishing the GA building. With respect to the first one, I basically told him, well, we're not going to draw a line in the sand on it. We would very strongly want to go forward with it. The ultimate cost of the airport would only be about $85,000 over 20 years. It's it's part of keeping things up to a well-maintained airfield. With respect to the $300,000, I said it appears that the first authorization for a taxiway that was passed at the 2011 town meeting could be, was just for a taxiway. It wasn't for a taxiway on the northeast side or the southwest side. That could be used for the environmental permitting work and other work that might be required in preparation for the actual bidding and construction of the taxiway. And so I said to him, I replied to him that this was something that, assuming the other articles still stood, which as far as I know it does, we didn't need the $300,000. And as far as the additional money for the GA building is concerned, I said, what I would hope that they would decide that they could do is wait, as they have in the past, and, you know, not put a motion in the warrant, but put a motion, you know, say that a motion will be presented at town meeting. And in the meantime, we will start a process, which starts tomorrow morning, of meeting with the architect, the project manager, and others to see whether we can keep this thing within the $4.5 million cost that was originally authorized. Unfortunately, the architect said to Bill that he'd been through this exercise 2 or 3 times already with prior management. But nonetheless, I think we need to look at it under a new light, new harsh light, and just make some tough decisions and bring it in at what is still a very high cost. But if you look at it on a per square foot basis, it's
astronomical.
Astronomical.
Yeah.
So, that's where we are on that. So
Okay.
I sent that to him this morning. I have not had a reply. I will send my response to him to you after the meeting. I wish, you know, I could send it to you beforehand, but I'm running a little scared, to be frank, about it on this open meeting stuff, and until I get some clarification.
What, you say you got your hand slapped for sending us?
Yeah, I thought I mentioned it at the last meeting.
You might have, I just.
When I asked council about the conflict, the first part of the response that came back
Okay.
through the town manager was, you know, the commissioners need to be advised that they shouldn't be sending copies to members of their commissions. essentially.
Oh, okay.
And because it might violate the open meeting law. And my understanding was you could if it was only for informational purposes, so I've got to
Yeah,
get that
that's my
clarified.
understanding.
I think maybe a way to do that meets the spirit of the law is to have the administration circulate the information.
Good.
That's how I
Yeah,
think.
but I can't send it to,
You can send it to Just Bill and ask them to distribute it to the commission. I think so.
okay. I'll check that out. But asking him specifically to send it to the committee?
Well, again, I think it's more of that whatever information you have that you want the whole commission to have, it comes not from a member, but from the administration.
Probably right. That may be right. That's a good
Or
point.
for, because they're separate from the body, appointed or elected.
Yeah, fair point. I'll work out a code.
I know those two buttons, forward and send.
All right. That's all I have. As more develops, we'll keep you posted. Environmental?
Just one on the finance stuff, one thing.
Yes.
Any idea of exactly now when we'll have the final sense of
All I
whether
know is the warrant has to go to the printer. The deadline for the printer is the 9th,
and so they'll
which
just
is next Friday.
work on it until then, and then whatever comes out is what we'll assume is
I
going to
think
be it.
that's,
Yeah.
we're going to have to,
I was just,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
and Irene's not here till Monday, the town finance director. She's been away all this week. So,
Probably a lot of stuff next week.
yeah. All right, environmental.
If I may, Sheila and I met as along with Peggy Fantazzi, the environmental consultant, as the subcommittee, and we developed this memorandum for the commission based upon our meeting and past discussions that have been occurring. So I was thinking that maybe we could go through them one at a time and just see if the commission would choose to endorse each of the recommendations of the Energy and Environment Subcommittee. First has to do with the solar farm. We had, as I had mentioned at a previous meeting, had some discussion at Natural Heritage as well as with Peggy about the plants that exist in the area that had previously been identified as part of the RFP process. There are endangered plants in that area. There were other issues that had come up through multiple discussions with respect to possible interference with the radar, FAA approval, as well as whether that location, the solar farm, was the highest and best use of airport property. Ultimately, what we are recommending as a subcommittee to the commission is that the solar farm location south of the airport be tabled at this time due to complications with rare and endangered species habitat, the other items as well. But so I guess I would hope that the commission would, and then as a follow-up, what we've identified is an alternative location to investigate, which you all have the drawing in your packet, and that was developed by Jacobs. They had provided early on 2 potential locations with another one that would have been south of the fence in Matacasham, outside of the previous area that was identified. But that area is partially disturbed, but it has some of the same issues. That it may be something that we'd want to use for mitigation. It also then, of course, may be more problematic with proximity to abutters in that area. And so it seems that the location shown along the southeast corridor, sort of along, if you were to go out to the end of Bunker Road, take that left in the dirt road that runs along the fence. There are some drawbacks that it may turn out that this site is not suitable for a variety of reasons, but we think that this is where we should at least start some preliminary investigation. It doesn't have as ideal of a location in terms of the southwest exposure that the other site had, and that this now runs more in the northeast southwest direction. There's also love to make solar part of the airport's whole suite of things as we try to, become energy efficient and, but, whether that's cost effective and whether it would be through the same RFP, public-private type partnership, or whether possibly another option would be through the VALE program. And I know that we've also had some discussions on the VALE with respect to the electrifying the ramp, but in my research as to other projects that have been funded through the VALE program, there's a variety throughout the country that have been for photovoltaic. So my sense early, not a final decision, but that would really be a win-win for the airport if we could get away from a public-private and actually own that facility that was paid for primarily through, federal funding, and then that we could sort of get that benefit. Of course, the side of that is then we'd be responsible for maintaining it and whatever else goes along. But again, those are things to be studied and looked at further down the road. But I think that we have to take some action with respect to the Landco proposal and what we were doing for the south side. So I think first, if we could take these, that we address the south side, and then you could decide collectively whether you'd want to support looking at this other location or holding off on that as well.
All right, why don't we take a motion on, take a discussion and motion on the first bullet point? Shall we? Is that what you like?
I think that would be the best way to
Yeah.
proceed if
Okay, well,
everybody
then
agrees. So that
I move that we postpone any further discussion in consideration of the area defined in the Landco proposal. I guess that's the best way to describe it.
I'll second that.
I would put it more strongly that if I were writing the, well, it's not, first of all, we need a second, sorry.
Second.
You did second.
Discussion?
Second motion.
Do you have any?
Discussion?
Discussion?
Is it open for discussion?
Yes.
You just say drop it?
Well, that's kind of my feeling, would be to, maybe a friendly amendment to try to, either just postpone it, period, at this
Or
time. just to-
terminate the consideration
Or
of that
terminate,
space.
yeah.
Okay, that's all right with me, too. I mean,
Is that all right? That's
I
okay.
think so.
okay, then, fine.
We're all trying to get the same place.
Yeah, that's, okay, so the motion then is to terminate further consideration of the Landco proposal, or the
Correct.
land that is the...
No, it is the
the use
Landco proposal. 'cause
Yeah,
the
that
Landco
describes
proposal's
it, I think, pretty
specifically
well.
for that space.
Yeah,
I'll second that motion.
okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You need to call Landco.
I don't think we need a motion on, I mean, we can just give the subcommittee direction to continue to look at the area along the southeast ramp, southeast side of this fence.
Everyone's sort of in agreement?
Yeah, my only concern is funding being expended for all this. I mean, do we just keep writing checks, or do we take in?
Well, no, this is the subcommittee, and we're all highly paid
Well, but there's a
No.
consultant involved with it, I believe, and I'm sure she's getting paid. Do we continue forward with it, or do I ask Art if are the roofs of all of our buildings completely off limits? Can we even start to even think maybe some of the hangars that are existing, can we use some of those roof spaces? The hangar 2,
The ARF building.
the ARF building would be ideal. I mean, even some of the roof on the main terminal is flat, I think, up there.
I don't know, can you separate these things? Do they have to be together?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on the solar stuff. I don't know, but I think that's an excellent point, and I think that we could add that on to that we should investigate that as well. Your point is very well
I
taken.
mean, would the HTC be totally dead set against it, or could we? I don't know.
If the ARF building got through the HTC.
I mean, I'm
Not gonna
just, some of the
say
concerns that really
more.
concern me is the infrastructure, having to get the infrastructure to all these places where some of these buildings already have a lot of it already in place.
My hope or thinking, if I may, that if we were to do along this area, that it wouldn't be that far to tie back into the grid behind the, in the bunker area. But I don't know exactly what infrastructure is there. But, I think those are all concerns. The question that you had is, in terms of expenditures, absolutely, as we pursue this, there would need to be some studies. Jacobs would likely be involved. I think we should probably get a better handle on that and come back to the commission on.
Yeah, I think we're
before
going
we-
to have to do some exploring of what kind of grants might be available.
Yeah.
Well, with this VAIL program, would they allow it also, the solar to go on the roofs? We don't know that.
Well, they certainly have it at other airports.
Yeah.
Bedford,
And same with ground mount.
Hanscom has them on top of the terminal, aren't they?
We saw them in Boston.
And at Logan, too.
Yeah, Hyannis has that whole Cape Air
Cape Air.
facility, I think is all,
It was a Cape Air project.
yeah.
My suggestion would be, we've now moved at least past the Lanco piece that we had to get past that, and as a subcommittee, we should keep working on this with absolute minimum expenditure of funds. I would like to be able to have Peggy involved at least to, in our meetings and discussions. Try to, while she's here, what we've done is she usually comes over to do the work on a Wednesday, so we schedule our meeting on the same day so that there's not additional travel expense and that sort of thing. And keep looking at it and then come back to the commission. I think that it's a sort of a level 2 priority type project in terms of the
Yeah,
other things.
At some point, it might be worth putting an RFP out.
For a consultant, another,
Well, for somebody who's going to undertake to do this on their dime, with the hope that they would get the work. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's a crazy enough business. You might find people that out there.
All right, is the town energy committee involved with you guys? I mean, are they?
Yeah, what I've done is to attend a couple of their meetings. They regularly have an agenda item for solar in general to just sort of discuss and bring up, what was the status of the one that was going on at the treatment plant, or, but I think that committee has been, completely tied up with the windmill project for the last 6 weeks anyway. So I didn't go to their last couple of meetings because it's just so, we were working on this from this end, and then the windmill stuff. I think maybe after that project goes whichever way it's gonna go, we can, I'd like to continue to touch base. I did send this memorandum to the town energy coordinator and the consultant, George Aronson, so that he knew, because they had been, after it had gone to the commission, that they knew we were still working on it, looking at it, not completely off the table, but that we're not pursuing the other one. And perhaps, again, once they get past the wind issues, perhaps they may have some resources available to assist us to, figuring the kind of things out, so we're not starting from scratch. All right.
Any
And
other comments?
on the solar?
On the second bullet point, I think the sense is you proceed.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
will continue to hold meetings, and we've been posting our meetings of the subcommittee, and everybody's
And then maybe just ask about the roofs. All you can do is ask.
absolutely, I will absolutely follow up on that.
I mean, one of the things we sort of thought about postponing was painting the tile, the grid on the roof hanger that says Nantucket. If we could cover that with solar panels, we wouldn't have to worry about painting it. Or at least not the fancy colors.
Different colored panels so you can make the letters.
And then finally, the Energy Subcommittee had discussed the current practices on the GA ramp that I knew that the commission had a discussion, I think it was maybe over the summer, briefly with Bill Richardson when he was at one of the meetings. And part of that had been tied together with the southeast ramp expansion, the studies that they were doing as they were looking at how they may need to come up with some mitigation for that project, that it may be tied to the practices on the ramp. And what he had expressed to me was that there was certainly room for improvement on practices for aircraft operating, on the ground, APU use, enforcement, those sort of things, establishing kind of a policy, procedures, as well as accountability, responsibility, tightening it up so that it's really a job function is where I think it would be going, with clear duties and just seeing not a wholesale new set of rules, possibly with there's rules in place from, it's just that possibly that maybe establishing further enforcement policies and working with management. Again, it's kind of a recommendation, I think, from ultimately from the commission back to the management. It's ultimately the management's decision on how they decide to do that, I think, because it is in terms of safety first, without a doubt, and that, you know, we'll do what we can on both noise and emissions. I think it's important, I can tell you from my past experience that, you know, Sundays, July and August, where with the jets queuing up to leave all day. Now, some of it's simply a factor of that you're just having to have that amount of activity. That's great, that's fine, but there's also a certain segment of maybe waiting and convenience that's happening that some, you know, that maybe the rules aren't all being, someone saying, look, that's been running too long, your client's not here yet, and exactly how that could work out. So what we've done is to recommend that, you know, to pursue this report, examination and report of current practices. And Jacobs is already involved with that in terms of the southeast ramp expansion. So my idea would be to have them prepare a report, you know, do the examination, finish the examination, and give us a report that we can, you know, work together and review. I think that, my opinion would be that has to come from all of the majority of the commission.
I think something simple, maybe easy that you could do is when they come in, check in, have something printed out and just hand it to them.
Yeah.
Because I know I've been out there on weekends, and I've actually talked to a couple other pilots, and I had one guy say, well, we had no idea.
Yeah, that's...
Something simple. I know we used to have stuff at the FBO at one time.
And that's exactly what I've, you know, combined with a public relations campaign. I don't think that we want to get into any huge, we certainly don't want to get into a lot of expense, but just a little something maybe to start off. And I think the best way to do that is to get a report back and then us to review all of those kind of things. I had been thinking even, you know, a poster in the GA building and a frame that's there. And I understand that we're in the temporary building and we're in a flux. We wouldn't want to do, you know, that hopefully the new building.
The handout.
Yeah, the handout, and it could maybe a framed, you know,
I think
you know, it could be something we just, you know, print very inexpensive. It could be what we already have for the hand. We already have a pretty good handout flyer. It's just probably hasn't been printed in quite some time. And maybe you print that at a poster size.
I don't know that we have to wait a report to do that.
Yeah.
No.
Those kinds of things.
I think there's one limiting factor, and either Dave or maybe Jeff could speak up, but I think we only have two APUs, and I think that's a real limiting factor in some of them.
You know what the limiting factor is? We can't enforce anything.
Manpower.
We have no way to make them do any of these things.
Yeah, that's exactly why I think that a report from Jacobs with suggestions on how you possibly establish some sort of policy that says, well, at least they're going to get a piece of paper that informs them as opposed to just a...
Right, we've done all that, and there is absolutely nothing we can do to them. You know what I mean? Let the air out of the tires or whatever.
No.
That's do anything like that.
Right. I mean, it would be nice if we could, and I agree this will take some work, if we could, much like the abatement program, try to come up with a carrot and a stick approach
if you did
that says, well, hopefully we can look at maybe as part of Jacob's report, they can combine the stuff that you have and bring it to us collectively, and we can work on it even at the subcommittee level.
My suggestion would be that you proceed on this line, and everybody's agreeable, and keep us informed.
So that
Not spend any money.
well, I think that's where the rubber hits the ramp, right?
It's not only the corporate guys, though, the commercial guys in the summertime are...
Yeah, I'm not throwing any, and I fully understand that there's got to be noise, we're in a mission, absolutely. It's just looking at policies and practices, especially right now. It doesn't have, and I just think that if we could, there might be some small expense, I guess, with Jacobs to do that, or, that's where I think that from the commission, what I would be hoping for would be the permission to engage them. And I suppose we could get an estimate.
Let's see what it's going to cost first.
Maybe we could do that from them.
We're already working on it, but as a matter of fact, while I'm thinking about it, there's a meeting this next Wednesday, 10 o'clock at the ARF building, where we're following up on some of these procedures. So I think there's an awful lot we can at least work on it in-house.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding in the past, there was policies and procedures put in place, but nobody wanted to enforce them, and the staff had an issue that depending on who it was. I mean, there was a lot of,
No one wants to be the bad guy. I get that too.
But even the staff would try to do their job, and they weren't getting backed up by management, so.
Right.
I intend to give the staff the authority
Super,
to do
that's
their job.
exactly
So
what
I think there's a lot that can be done quite simply.
Thanks.
As you said, we'll never solve it all, but
No.
we can make it better.
And I think just having an extra staff on the weekends would help, you know?
A little bit of a number of things will go a long way, education and
Yeah, just some improvement would
We
be
got to move along.
positive. That's great.
Let's get back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
Oh,
Okay. Just back on the financial for a second. I just wondered if any of you from the commission had any thoughts on the meeting on Monday? Anything we could have done better, anything we could have done, you know?
My personal regret was that I didn't speak up when they asked you if you were comfortable with the numbers and explain to them that, you know, I felt like maybe I should have said as the other member of the subcommittee, and that we did have a couple of posted meetings to get to that point, as well as the commission. So that was my only comment, is that if I could do it again, I would have at least made them aware of the effort. It's not just, you know, I know
think
that-
they were very, maybe surprised, but they were very welcoming, I think, to it. I don't think they had the full commission sitting in front of them before.
Yeah.
And I think they appreciated that. I really do.
I think they did.
I think you did a great job.
Yeah, no, I think,
I was not looking for that, but thank you.
I think you overwhelmed them with some of the paperwork, really. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, maybe in a couple of cases, too much information.
yeah.
Anyhow, all right, good, let's go on. The remote participation policy, I don't really want to spend any time on this. I did read it, and I didn't have any problems with it. I thought it goes a long way to solving the problem, so is there a motion to convey our approval to the town manager?
Yeah.
I would make a motion that we send a memo to the town manager endorsing or supporting.
How about an email?
Or a memo, an email, sure, just that we inform the town manager that the commission endorses the draft open meeting law.
Remote participation
Remote
policy.
participation.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Janine, would you and Bill coordinate on that and just send them a note, please? Daffodil Weekend sponsorship, what are they looking for, $1,000?
now you can take your pick here.
Right. But that's what I'm sure
Janine,
they're
what did
looking.
we do for Stroll? Was it 500 or 1,000?
1,000.
What's the maximum
I
they're looking
believe.
for, 5, 10, 15?
1,000. Well, here you can do anything you want, but it starts at 1,000, 5, 250, and 100.
They're just asking for 1,000. I guess they'd take more.
Oh, they take more.
I don't want to give them more.
No, I don't.
I'm sorry, here it is. Yeah. What's the sense of it?
I think it's that we should, as the commission, we should support the chamber, the airport. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people come and go to the airport that weekend, and I think it's good business.
Is there a motion to that effect?
Yes, that we support.
Is
the-
a second? To
Second.
$1,000?
A second.
Mr. Gasparo?
I'm only wondering if maybe in this particular year, we should go with the 500 along the lines of everything being so tight.
I think we can find 1,000.
Okay,
I think it's
I'm
good.
not that-
I think it's good.
Yeah, I think we can find 1,000.
Okay.
So my motion is to be a sponsor of the Daffodil Weekend with the Chamber of Commerce for $1,000, and to receive the festival business sponsorship with all the little perks that come with it.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, Mr. McGrath, you're on.
I'll try to go fast. It's getting late. Let's see. Just an update on a few of the things going on. Runway 33 extension started, the construction started on Monday. They're moving along, things are happening, all so far so good. Let's see, quickly, this goes back a little bit, but I have finally had some communication with the Taylor Group, the Taylor family on the hangar. Very preliminary, but we've opened a line of communication, which I guess had been kind of shut down for a number of years, so I'm going to try to move that forward. On the electric charging stations, I have been contacted by Cape Air about them having an electric car for their own personal baggage deliveries. They will be looking for some type of situation with the airport to be able to use that charging station on a, basically daily.
Well, I mean, theoretically, we could do that.
Right. Yeah, so just so you know, informational. I just told them we were going to wait. I knew tonight that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should see if there's anybody else out there and figure out how we're gonna allocate it.
Yeah, figure out what the cost is associated with it. They're interested on that. Quick update we talked a little bit about the taxiway, the parallel taxiway. Dan and Jeff and myself went to Boston on Tuesday, had a meeting with the FAA and air traffic and consultants, and it was a very positive meeting. It was basically, we got some good positive input on the possibility of redesigning the taxiway on the so-called infield taxiway. I think it was quite unanimous from all parties that that's where it belongs.
In fact, it was determined that the riskiest proposal was excuse me for interjecting here. This was essentially a focus group where people were asked to look at each of the 6, and again, I'll send you the email. Each of the 6 proposals, starting with where we are today, the Northeast Taxiway, which was where we were up until 2 months ago, and then 4 different options for the Southwest Taxiway. And the options are really not the taxiway per se, but how it feeds into the ramp, the midfield crossings on 624 and the ramp. And we went through, and as Bill says, this was the proposals for the alternate, the Southwest Taxiway, were very well received. But one person at the FAA at the end said, "Well, we're still hanging on to the other one because we've spent money on it, and so forth and so on." So the facilitator went back and did the process briefly for the old taxiway, and it was determined it was the most dangerous and was the only one of the alternatives that presented more hazards than we might have today, because it crossed 2 runways rather than 1, and so on, which I thought was a interesting outcome.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no problem.
Well, you said that was the first time you've ever had some kind of group like this, isn't it? That they.
This is something somewhat new for the FAA, but I mean, it was good. I mean, it was good. So there is a follow-up. It was kind of left. Now we have a kind of a small group here in Nantucket follow-up next Tuesday, and then ultimately we'll have to go back to the FAA again. And it's almost like starting the process over again.
The 4 options that were presented, new options that were presented, one of them was rejected as presenting additional hazards as well. So there are 3 that are on the table, one of which, and you'll see, again, I'll send you the packet, they're labeled 3, 4, and 5. 3 is the simplest, cheapest one. All of this involves substantial environmental issues because it's all protected space. There'll be a 3-to-1 mitigation. And parenthetically, what Meredith, whatever her name is, from Jacobs is talking about is setting up an island-wide mitigation program with the other town departments and so on. So that's something I think we need to pursue. Because, it doesn't necessarily have to be on airport land. It can be somewhere else. So.
Just one question.
Yes.
Was Mr. West part of this group? No.
No.
Well, it was his
Sidekick.
office was there, but someone else from his office was there, and he was. They had players from all the different departments. It was quite interesting.
It's taken, as Bill pointed out yesterday, it's taken 12 years to get to this point. But we're there, which is good.
That's that. Quick update on the new GA admin building. There's a little bit of lumber going up. They're putting the first floor joists in and a little bit of steel, so that they're working away. by their schedule. They're still slightly ahead of schedule. So it's moving forward. Again, we have a couple meetings, actually 3 meetings in a row tomorrow that are basically about the GA building. Just update on the construction. We have the telecommunications, which is still a kind of unanswered question on the telecommunication design. And then we'll be talking about cost controls in the future. That was that. The only other thing, and not maybe you might be able to explain this better, our Telcon on the Bail program, which is more of a...
Sure, I'd be happy to. We had a conference call yesterday morning, right?
Yeah, so.
It was Bill and I, and then some consultants from Lay Fisher who have done some work for us about, and along with the FAA, about the ramp electrification project, along with Steve Flesher of Jacobs. I didn't come away feeling really great about it. The FAA's concern on the project is the way they evaluate it is on a cost per ton of carbon reduced. And our numbers just don't look very good compared to other projects. As a matter of fact, it's by and far to possibly the magnitude of 10 times higher than any other project that they've ever funded on a dollars per ton carbon basis. So what that rant led to was they didn't completely shut the door on it. They seemed encouraged that we're interested in pursuing the Vail program. And so Steve Fleischer of Jacobs went back yesterday afternoon to sort of reevaluate costs and structure of what could be proposed, and then that led to his email of yesterday afternoon, which I believe Bill distributed, in terms of the question is how many outlets would you put in the ramp and how many carts would you purchase, and the proposal on the table had been for 5 outlets and 3 carts. And now it seems pretty clear that we could gain the same carbon reduction with just 2 carts, and the carts are, very expensive pieces of equipment. So now we have a breakdown basically that's on how many outlets would we want to do, in the 2 carts. So we sort of have a menu in front of us. Well, I didn't know whether but unfortunately the numbers didn't come down a whole lot on cost. So I was hopeful that I think it would be a great project. I'm just not sure that we're going to, get the FAA support on it.
Yeah, that was, but I did do a little research. I think someone had asked me, to date, it appears that we've spent $163,000 on the design where we're at today to get us to the point last spring to get it bids and
This is the money that's come out of the operating budget.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we, just from a cost for the airport or potential risk moving forward, it looked like if we were to try to push it, go farther, if let's say the FAA gave us a well maybe, and you have to finish designing it before we make our final decision, it looks like our exposure there will be $20,000 to $25,000 additional cost to get it re-scoped, rebid.
Which could be
repackaged.
Capitalized if it's ultimately
approved.
If it's approved.
But not otherwise.
So ultimately, at some point, we're going to come down to that, how, is it a 50-50 chance? Is it worth another $25,000? We've already got 163 into it without any commitment.
Yeah, there's a bit of a, I don't know. And the other sort of thought I had, it would be if we were to agree to fund a greater portion voluntarily ourselves. For example, if it's $1 million project, would we offer to say, pay a third and they pay 2/3 to sort of sweeten
I
it?
understand the thinking, but I think it's something we would have a very difficult time doing right now.
I have to agree
Getting
right
away
now.
with, should I say. Unfortunately.
The risk, of course, is that 163 that's been spent won't be recouped.
Right.
The question, I guess, that I also had, Bill, was that, and that I wasn't aware is, are completely clear of why the GA ramp outlets were removed from the project completely, and that we weren't looking at carbon reduction from those jets as well. And I got the part about the preconditioned air, but then there's still the portion of what you could do with electrification on the GA.
Do you know the background exactly, Jeff, why the GA ramp was pulled out completely?
Supposedly, because I think you're right. Is
The conditioned air, not the.
Right,
not
they
for
wouldn't fit in the
GPU.
aircraft.
Couldn't give
So
them
they just
conditioned air,
dropped.
but I'm not sure why, because you could still
Right,
give
you
them
still,
power.
right, use
Well, they still
power.
have to, even though you plug the power into the aircraft, they still need the APU running. for
If
the-
they
for the
wanted-
air- So you'd have the power, you'd have the.
So you
power
wouldn't
car running.
accomplish,
You'd be giving them the
I got
power to keep their motors
Exactly.
going.
Right.
yeah,
Right, so
I
there you go,
understand.
yeah, right. So they'd still want to run their APU.
And basically, as I
conditioned air.
understand it, the FAA just said no to that. Somebody told me that, I'm not sure who.
On the southwest
On the
ramp,
south
I'm
ramp,
not
the
sure why
FAA said
that's.
they wouldn't consider it.
Well, they wouldn't gain anything.
There was no gain,
You know what I
there'd be
mean?
no
If it
gain for
doesn't
the
work, you still have
carbon
the
emissions
APUs
because
running.
they'd still keep doing
I
it.
guess the question for the commission is whether, now that we have a number, which I didn't know yesterday, so if we would be talking about, 20,000 to put back together, to finish up and roll our dice and see where we might get with the FAA.
I would imagine, in my mind, that the options that Steve has given us now, we should be able to get another call and get, is there a combination here that
Yeah,
gets some
Yeah,
interest?
That would be my
let's do a little
suggestion.
more spade work
Sure,
first and then
that-
come back. and
okay.
see.
Keep
Probably
going
go-
on it.
Go from
and
there.
I suppose just so that we could get a sense of the commission in terms of the alternatives, I'm sorry, I don't have that email with me, but should we, between Bill and I working on it, sort of decide whether it's 2 carts and 2 outlets, or you
Yeah, I
do
would come
3?
back with a recommendation.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
The other thing in front of you, we got the proposal from the company for our noise monitoring. Just quickly, we didn't get it till yesterday. We kind of looked at it. We had a couple of questions. Sylvia spoke with them today. I spoke with them late in the day. Quickly, it's the cost is quite competitive as to what the airport has been spending in the past, and I think that the bang for your buck, this is light years ahead of what we've been doing.
I
Right.
was gonna say this.
And keeping in mind not only when, a quick cost comparison, but on top of that, it would, from a labor standpoint, the amount of time and effort for an individual to be monitoring and running the program today is quite extensive, where the way we're looking at this, it's, almost be done for you. Just, press a button.
Yeah.
So I think we should take
Any idea what the difference in prices, Bill, between what we were paying?
Yeah, basically what we were paying Passor was, originally we were paying them $72,000 a year. Just in the last couple, 3 months, we beat them up and we dropped that down to now about $50,000 a year. So we've got a reduction in that. So today it's $50,000. And again, if you look at what they're looking at here, it'd be $60,000 a year. So less than what we had been historically, a little more than what we've been paying the last 3 months, but that $10,000 extra, from a cost labor savings, I think would be
It's
huge.
Saves labor.
huge, it's huge.
And I think from a community standpoint, I think we could do a lot better job with this. And again, I haven't had a chance to really dig into it, but I think it's exciting to at least start looking at it.
No, it looks good, very
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah,
Very
it is. I really-
Is this something, though, ultimately we have to go out to bids on, or is this a
No,
We were told we didn't for what we have now because it was strictly
aviation?
aviation.
Okay,
This was-
good.
this was-
I did read it and just had one item on number 7, the project assumptions. About 1, 2, 3, 4, on the 5th bullet point, it says the airport providing the necessary agreements for passer for access to
yeah.
the data stream.
That's the calls that both David and I made today.
Yeah,
The issue is that initially, there'd be a
Over.
30 to maybe 90 days situation where we would still need the Passor data to run this system. It takes them that long to get the paperwork through the FAA to get the data from the FAA straight into the system.
So it's just an interim.
Be a
Super. I just wanted to make sure we
so
weren't.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I had the same question.
Yeah,
Is it-
and
what's
so
this-
your choices could be shut the system down for that period or continue to pay.
Yeah.
And the money to Passor should be less because we wouldn't need everything we're paying them for right now. I haven't approached them yet. They're actually been not at all helpful. We've had an issue with the system, and they won't support it at all. We can't get a call back from them or anything. So I think they.
They've always been difficult.
Yeah, I think they've been very difficult.
This thing is.
I think they've been difficult, and they see the handwriting on the wall. They're not even willing to help support the system right now, from what I can see.
And this is like, I think you said, this is light years ahead of what Password can do.
Anyways,
Yes.
Should we just simply move forward at this
No,
point?
are you
or
ready? You're
is
not
there-
ready yet, are you? No.
I don't think so. Need a little more information, but
Okay.
but it's coming.
Okay, good.
I think that was the only other thing. I think there was a little bit talk of this concept out there, Nantucket Community Flying, similar to Nantucket Community Sailing, and, you know, there's some discussion back and forth with Bob Egan. I got quite a bit of information today, and I don't think I got around to forwarding it to everybody, but I will. Just a little more information on what that's all about, and, you know, still getting the data together and the thoughts, and just see how that would all work out. But I think that's a little exciting, too. I think that could be a nice thing for the community, getting involved with aviation. And that, I think that's what I had on my list of things.
David? Thank you, Bill. Yeah,
Try to get it.
That'll probably take too long to get it going.
just do it.
Yeah.
You all have it in your book.
Yeah, I mean, we've all got
Quick,
it.
Dave.
Yeah, real quick. The monthly operations for January were 6,966. That's down about 20% from last January on the operations.
Now, if you take the shuttle out, can we compare it? If we take,
We could.
Shuttle back in,
Yeah.
you'd be flat,
you'd be flat, yeah.
basically. Yeah. The one thing that may be a little bit negative, I did a little snooping, and you know, there's basically no flying loss. The weather's been so good.
Right.
Last year in that period, there was, I believe, 3 days where there's no activity at all because of bad weather. So,
But if the totals are foot, you know, that's,
but I mean that's, you'd like to think that the good weather
right.
should have helped. Didn't seem to.
For the employments for the month of January, it was 6,729. That's down about 21%, so it's all relative, the number of operations.
But again, if you take out the shuttle, the numbers are flat, which to me has some encouragement that things have bottomed out.
Yes, yeah.
Here's more encouragement too. Freight for the month of January was 127,359 pounds. That's up about 13.5% from last year at this time.
Good.
I had 6 noise complaints through the month of January, and just to let you folks know, it was the same individual, all 6 complaints.
And I'm sure you contact this individual.
Many a times,
Me too.
daily. The noise incentive program for the month of January, actually for the month of January, 115 flights were observed. There were 5 unknown aircraft that I couldn't identify. There were 3 GA aircraft, and as far as the airlines, there was 0 during the periods that I observed. There were 26 VFR days, and like Billy was saying, the weather was so good, and there were only 5 IFR days for the month of January. So during the times that I did observe, Cape Air and Island Air both had 0 discrepancies on the noise abatement rods, so they both scored 100 on that. So, as well as Marine Lumber also had 100%. So,
Should we release that to the newspaper somehow?
I can if you'd like.
Yeah, I think we
Would
should,
be nice.
yeah.
And that's
Okay,
it.
any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, David. Are there any commissioners' comments?
No.
I had just one.
Go ahead.
If,
Oh, I did have one too.
I came over on, what was it, Tuesday, I guess it was, and I was shocked to find out that I guess some of the airline prices have jumped by $10 over in coming from Hyannis, which kind of surprised me when I was told by the counter over there. But I just thought I'd let everyone know that it was
No.
Part of it is that airport fee.
that new kind of, that new fee, yeah.
It's at least $3.50 of the ticket, isn't it, Bill?
I think that's what they settled on. I wouldn't swear to it, but I think that was what the PFC ended up being.
And I just had one other question. I got an email today from this company called Fleet Air Service from Westchester County. Has anybody heard of them? They wanted to be recommended to clients and such, but I never responded. I've never heard of them, but I was just,
I've never,
No.
okay. Ginny, never heard of them?
Are you sure you didn't get this in your travel, wearing your travel hat?
No, I actually did came to the travel agency email, but I've never heard of them. So, and I would think if they want to fly into Nantucket, they might, do they have to become a business member? No. Anyway, so this company.
Unless they run a scheduled service.
And I haven't checked with the chamber to see if they joined the chamber, but it's called Fleet Air Services. They're going to be running from Westchester County, and I do have an email here, Bill. Do you want to talk to them?
you want to
It is.
send it to me after? or-
I'll send you afterwards. I'll give you this.
Ah. Okay.
And they're not saying scheduled service, they're just going to be providing service.
Earl, did you have anything?
Yeah.
No, I have no comment.
Okay.
I'll hold off tonight.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Hearing none? I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of reviewing the executive session minutes of January 17th, 2012 for possible release, and to conduct a general strategy session for possible negotiations with non-union personnel and with respect to possible collective bargaining.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mrs. Egan? Mr. Gasparo? Mr. England? Mr. Drake? All vote aye. And Mr. McGrath, will you join us, please?
Certainly.
I'm going to run to the
Yes,
restroom.
David.
I'll be right
I'm
back.
going to go get a drink while she's getting a drink of water.
Can I get signatures before I leave?
Yes.
Is
Can
that-
I just run out and get a drink of water?